Only one series remains in our latest installment of the Quake Pro League. My name's Ketchup, joined by Flea and DJ Wee. This latest week has been a really fun one. We just had a wonderful interview with Rafa, breaking down his series and that god tier comeback that he made in map 1. But if you'd believe it, we have a really heavy-hitting matchup to finish the night. It's going to be vengeurR, Base. These two players have one hell of a rivalry with each other. They have extremely different styles. They've gone back and forth across really at least a year. You know, their Pro League journey on its own has been one that is incredibly inspiring because they just develop over and over and over again. I mean, Flea, these two players are fantastic, but I love watching them play. And I think today's going to be another one of those times.
Absolutely. They've also been performing extremely well so far. Keep in mind, these are the only two players in the Europe side of the leaderboards who haven't lost a single game this series. They have both gone undefeated, right? If we take a closer look, Base has beaten Cooler, Spardy, CNZ, and Garpy. And then on the other hand, vengeurR has taken down Garpy, Kilson, Spardy, Cypher, and CNZ. So both of these have just absolutely been stringing together wins. Now, if you look at their match history, vengeurR has won both of the previous two encounters. They faced off against each other in the Stage 2 finals. vengeurR won 2-0. Before that, in Stage 2, was a much closer game. Came once again down to a single frag. vengeurR securing a 2-1. So this should be an extremely hype series.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about this matchup. You know, vengeurR sitting at 5-0. He's currently the #1 spot. For those that got a chance to see vengeurR versus CNZ, that matchup actually ended up being 2-1. And, you know, people are like, oh my gosh, what's going on with vengeurR? But, you know, I think these two, there's a clash of styles that is just so delightful to be able to see. You know, Base, who's typically a much more slower, methodical player, although we've seen him kind of expand his own style a bit at the end of Stage 2 into Stage 3, where vengeurR just kind of likes to play the RNG style, where it's like you know he's going to be solid, but you don't know what you're gonna get. And we could probably sit here and have a whole hour-long argument on, you know, is that helpful for a player who has strategy like Base, or is that more difficult for a player? And we won't know until we actually see these games. But I agree with what you said, Ketchup, and what you said, Flea. This is going to be a phenomenal matchup.
Let's take a look at the picks and bans, and we'll find out what the journey spells for us. As the two players, I mean, sometimes the maps and the champions can just give us such extra insight. Scalebearer is taken away immediately, which I do actually find kind of funny, because vengeurR has only, let's be honest, recently been grinding Scalebearer to really come to grips with the champion. Already we're seeing it banned out, and I guess that goes to show how powerful Scalebearer is in the current meta. Again, sorry, it's going to be Sorlag versus Ranger first. Molten Falls, yo, we get to see the Slash coming out again, a rare sighting, and then Exile for the first and only time of the day, actually. We see Exile Doomslayer versus Ison at the very end.
Really excited to see the Slash come out to play again. She's really only ever played on Blood Covenant and on Molten Falls, and of course Covenant is not in the pool right now, so this is the only map that she might be played. So I'm very happy to see her come out to play. And then finally, like you said, Ketchup, Exile. First time we're seeing that map today. Hasn't been played even once so far, so that's always hype.
The picks on XL are pretty interesting, you know, not picks we necessarily see all the time, but be kind of curious to see how that one is going to play out. I also think we've seen Base kind of pick and choose Anarchy on a few maps where you don't think it's going to quite work out, but somehow Base makes it happen. Of course, as you mentioned, versus that Slash. Oh, that's a juicy one, ladies and gentlemen. So I think I'm really happy with the maps we've got here and the champ picks. And I don't think it changes the fact that I think this will be a knockout.
And it's kind of funny too, because you look at the champions on Molten Falls with Nyx being removed, which absolutely would have given Base, if that's the champion he went with, obviously like a night and day difference of how he would approach things. So, you know, Anarchy and Nyx, you really, it's difficult to play the same game plan with the two because their kits kind of just call for different things, right? However, I think that if we're going to be talking about predictions, both of these players have readied up, so I'll keep this short and sweet. Flea, before we say goodbye to you for this series, who do you think has the edge?
Oh, I think if we look at their previous matchups and how vengeurR has been playing so far, yes, they are both undefeated, but I think that the caliber of players that vengeurR has taken out has been somewhat higher than what base has had to go up against so far. And if you add on to that their previous matches, I am going to give it to vengeurR, probably going to say 2-1. And if I look at the predictions in chat, they're kind of going the same way with a pretty significant advantage to vengeurR.
What about you, Wheat?
I mean, I think this is a head and heart call right here, because I think vengeurR is definitely the one my heart says, yeah, based off of past performances, etc. My head says look at it on paper, and base has had a much more consistency in his wins. Again, might be attributed to his style versus vengeurR style, where like I'm gonna play this way. It might mean I give some maps up, might do a little crazy stuff. But I'll go with my heart this time. I think vengeurR continues to impress. I really enjoy how he plays, but I'm looking forward to seeing how what base is going to bring, and if it'll cause vengeurR to change things up. But I'll go with the 2-1 vengeurR.
I think I'm inclined to agree. A 3-0 would be shocking right here. It's one of those matches where the players are so of like high caliber. A sweep feels unlikely to me, but we'll see as we're moments away from finding out. We're going to jump into that first map. So Flea, we will say goodbye to you for now as you join the stream monsters, and it'll be a good time to chill with the community and watch a really fun final series of the day. Now, I think both players have readied up, and they've good luck, have fun coming out. So as soon as we jump into this map and we're ready to go, we will start the action. But there's a lot of history between these two players, and that's what intrigues me the most. They've played each other so often, and my memory can sometimes be a bit like a sieve, so apologies if I'm a little bit incorrect. But if memory serves, there was a time where vengeurR was looking near unbeatable on Awoken, and one of the very first players that was actually able to take the map of Awoken off vengeurR was base, because base had his own style that he applied to that map. Sure. And we would look at them play it, and then you'd normally see vengeurR on Awoken and be like, okay, it's vengeurR on Awoken, here we go, just give him the map basically. And then you'd look at base and it's like eyebrows getting raised, like, okay, well maybe we shouldn't be so sure about it. They do have such a ridiculous dynamic between their two styles that you always know you're in for a magical series, and I do hope thoroughly that today is another one of those examples.
Yeah, it's you mix yellow and blue and you get green, but this is one of those situations where you mix two styles and you have no idea what the color is going to be when when you mix them together, and that to me is exciting Quake, right? It means that both players are going to have to adjust on the fly, that may have a game plan going in that might not necessarily work, and that makes for great Quake. What a way to wrap this Quake Sunday. And we are officially live, looking through bases. Eyes, take us away.
Now, we have talked about their clash of styles, and probably going to be worth elaborating in just a little bit, but no time to do such things at the very beginning as base takes the first frag already. Now, it is going to be that dynamic of heavy versus medium. Base having that gigantic stack, and more importantly on Veil, just no damage on the acid, point blank encounters, everything that you like. And then the Ranger, more fitting to vengeurR's style. And I guess while we wait for this next engagement, let's talk about those styles. Base, known mostly for defensive play, patient and disciplined. He can play other styles as well, but it is that patience that he's most known for. vengeurR, a master of playing out of control, and I think has a more unconventional style. Comfortable all the time, but not 100% reliant on items or anything like that. He can have no items and still win a map, and you ask yourself thinking, how has he done this? However, the aggressive push misses the rail. That would have been a kill shot, and base cleans up again.
Ketchup, I think we've already seen that these two styles really sort of displayed here front and center in these first two frags too. Thinking back to that very first frag where we saw vengeurR kind of aggressively go for that orb play right away, and base just stood his ground, hit his rockets, netted that first frag. So I mean, like, that right there just goes to show where vengeurR's willing to put a little flash into things, where base is like, I'm gonna play in a calculated way that is going to earn me that first frag. Boom, and that ended up working out in his favor. Now, could have gone either way, right? But I think that does show sort of those display of styles. Now, base has full cycle control right now, and here we see vengeurR with this third kind of failed orb, unfortunately. None of these orbs have really been beneficial to him in terms of getting a frag or gaining any sort of ground on his opponent. And Base sort of running away from this off the spawn does take more damage, but lands that rail very low, about to grab Mega. But wow, not necessarily the way I thought this game would start, but a 4-0 lead for vengeurR. And now both majors going to Base.
Base has been thoroughly relentless on this map so far. vengeurR a second too early, really, on that heavy, and I think the goal, trying to take it away if you can, but getting a little bit of damage, sure. But the style of Base right now, the aggression. Oh, that rail, though, sending him a bit too far forward. But it has been control over the items above all else. Base, we use the term discipline to describe him so much because he rarely overextends. If there's an absolute, comfort level that he's gonna be able to take it. Oh, vengeurR, I like the idea. Wanting to take the heavy and fight at exactly the same time. It wouldn't have been a terrible time to get a frag either. But Base, nice and healthy, even off the back of that one. And for another time, Wheat, the orb is gone. The orb has had very little purpose so far. Whereas Base and the acid spit has been a match made in heaven. Again, early on the item, vengeurR. This is not the first time he's been early on an item today, and we're only 3 minutes in.
I understand the idea of wanting to get that back, but you do take that risk, and another frag off of the spawn for a conversion to 7. We talked about that clash of styles, Ketchup, and I think we can clearly say in the first 3.5 minutes of this matchup that Base's style is winning. vengeur's trying to get in. We've seen him do some cute little orb plays, but none of them have necessarily broken through that wall of Base, that defense, and allowed him to capitalize on a frag at all. We see the orb come out again. Base at least diverts his attention momentarily, but it won't last long as vengeurR comes back up the jump pad, and it's LG in the mouth for vengeurR, and he goes down yet again, 8-0. And I dare I say I'm a little shocked that Base has this commanding of a lead here versus a player like vengeurR. Now, vengeur's also been known to make some pretty impressive clawing comebacks. Can he do it again here? We haven't seen him take that first step, really, for it to happen.
Not yet. Now, this could be the first opportunity in almost 5 minutes that vengeurR has had to establish himself in the entire map. And, I didn't really point it out before, but even the orb near heavy, near the jump pad, I'm not actually convinced that if he teleported on the orb, he'd be able to collect the heavy in general. There's just been some uncharacteristic fumbles of just execution here from vengeurR. But as I've been saying that, he's just got himself 2 frags on the board. The wonderful thing about Veil being as small as it is that 6 frags in 5 minutes is absolutely doable. But as Flea quite rightly pointed out earlier today, the one thing you always have to struggle with is the fact that Sorlag will outstack you all day, fresh off spawn. And that is something vengeurR needs to be mindful of. The damage needs to be real, but at the same time, it needs to be damage unreturned, which is kind of easier said than done. But look at these rails.
It's just unreal. He's just suddenly said, you know what, maybe I should start trying to win. And it completely changes. Now, he worked hard for that first frag, right? A lot of really, really nice damage. You talked about him missing the missing the timing on some of these items a little bit, but holding back, playing a more mid style game really allowed him to get that first frag, and then he's capitalized off it. Things have slowed down a little bit. The cycle has been broken, and we'll see if vengeurR can continue to bring this back. But I'll tell you what, he keeps hitting rails like that, and he's going to have a hell of a good chance.
Knowing Base, this is already a point where he's somewhat changing his pace. He's not 100% in control of all the items, but he is the one that's leading the charge in the match as he's 5 frags in the lead. And with there being 4 minutes to get it done, this is a complete shift where Base can start to play defensive if he wants to. vengeurR will eventually catch you, but a part of playing defensive can just be dragging out frags as much as you can and getting that damage. The reason you get the damage is because you spawn. Look at the stack difference. vengeurR has more weapons, absolutely, but if there's that one time he takes loads of damage and then Base gets a spawn nearby, he can absolutely refrag it, which kind of puts the Ranger player back into square one. Now, vengeurR, he hasn't let up yet. Never give up. Rafa said it earlier, pulling off a comeback on this very map mere 1 series ago. And vengeurR is in the process of doing the same thing. Misses the rail, though. That would have been such a skeleton key for another frag.
That would have been vengeurR style coming out and taking back control. Exactly what we've been talking about here in the pregame and kind of leading into this first matchup. vengeurR certainly looks to have base's number. I think he's figured out, okay, this is how I can kind of approach this and play this. He is still throwing in some somewhat unorthodox types of hits. The rocket jump into the rail, unfortunately, that didn't connect, but you get a sense of how he's thinking and what he's trying to pull off. But he's had a complete cycle here of major items. He's going to throw the orb out again, more again as a distraction. Gets a little bit of LG damage. Base doing a good job on the defense. Spit does come out, but the drop down by vengeurR, and now it's going to be LG versus LG, and it does look like vengeurR takes it one more time. He's landed that rail shot like 6 times in a row, and he makes it 7 as he hops up and tags base off of the spawn, loses that heavy, but still has done a significant amount of damage to start off. Rail now in the hands of base. He's going to pick up, takes a rocket to the face. The LG, will it clean it up? No, base lands the rail to bring control back into his court.
That is a critical rail to land in that situation. vengeurR, he was pushing harder than he ever could because time was running out and still is. But that one single rail, the extra work that is required to now make this comeback, it's getting more and more bleak as we go. I don't want to count him out as long as there is time to get the job done, but this is where everything becomes even more apparent. Sorlag's gigantic stack. The fact that base is going to shift his game plan. The moment he's shifted to be defensive, it has taken vengeurR a lot longer to find those frags, and quite rightly so. To the point where vengeurR, he can't find him. He's looking to scout him out. Did manage to find it. I think base was pretty confident vengeurR would have gone up there, but I don't even know if he would have.
It's right now, I could just hear chat going, yep, and this is what happens when base is in the lead. He becomes invisible. He's got that secret ability that no one realizes is actually there. And here we're going to see vengeurR move in on the aggression with the orb. Does get some nice damage. Base on the run. LG's come out. I think he's going to frag this one. No, base. Look, did you see the positioning on base as he went for each of those health bubbles in the middle of that fight? Masterfully done. He is very, very low, is going to be taken out, but that was an incredible frag by base.
So much work to do and really no time to get it done. Base's style in this clash proved a bit too much, but it is only one map. But it's a map that base has looked absolutely phenomenal on. The problem is that vengeurR, there's really no ignoring the fact that this was not his finest map. Now he's going to take another frag here, but by all means, this map is done. Let's kind of address the elephant in the room, though, is that was not, especially the kind of first 3/4 of the map, I don't think that was vengeurR at his greatest. There were a couple of instances where he was way early on the items. Even a couple of seconds is a lifetime for someone like base, who is a surgeon on those items. And vengeurR, a lot of missed execution. The orbs that were either doing absolutely nothing, or they were, narrowly misplaced. It was just not 100% the vengeurR that we're used to seeing. Base punished it incredibly heavily.
Yeah,
and I mean, yeah.
Well, I think it's one of those. I think it's one of those things where that first frag, right? We see that before, the chaos of the opening seconds, the orb kind of gets thrown out. It's like, yeah, what did it? But when we saw that happen then on the second frag, and then the third frag, again, we get what vengeur's trying to pull off here, but unfortunately, none of them even putting him in a position to gain much of anything. So yeah, that was a problem early on. Now, did that come back to kind of bite vengeurR in the end of that match? I mean, I don't know. Base played a good game. He definitely played to his style. He didn't necessarily show us anything that we weren't already expecting, but it was not possible for vengeurR to kind of climb that ladder back up to where he needed to be. So whether those first few frags, that was intentional, it might have had a larger impact on the overall game than maybe vengeurR had expected.
The fact he was able to almost bring it back is impressive in itself. As you can see there, 3 minutes and 8 frags had been conceded. You are not used to seeing vengeurR go down that fast in any map. But eventually, it was base that had the upper hand, and he kept it all the way through. Now, that is only one map of 3. We have our second about to load in, where we get to see we can safely say, No disrespect to Slash fans out there, a champion that just isn't popular and has fallen out of favor in Duel specifically, right? She's common in other modes for sure, whether it's TDMs and deathmatches, whatever, you see a lot of Slash. In Duel, you don't really, and a lot of that comes down to how map specific she can be. She is very, very squishy, but two of her more common maps, one of them isn't in the rotation currently anyway, and the other being Molten Falls, she's not going to be the kind of be-all, end-all pick. And I think there are still some people out there that would just rather pick other champions. But it does seem to be a thing with the Maestro lot that they kind of like playing Slash on Molten Falls, and that's going to be another one of these times. vengeur's picking Slash, and it's going to be base with the Anarchy. However, Anarchy on Molten Falls is another common pick with both base and CNZ, if I recall.
Yeah, it's right, and you can really start to understand why. You got the speed, you have the mobility, and that's great throughout the entire match, but it's even better when you're in the lead and you want to play that incredibly cemented defensive game near the end. Now, Slash, maybe vengeurR is like, I'm going to have something that can just keep up in speed. In that last matchup, we saw vengeurR had to use the orb to try to make up the distance between his opponent and himself. This is a little bit different sort of world. Now, how will, say, Inject kind of measure up to what Slash brings to the table? I don't know that Slash gets the advantage there, so we'll have to see. But at the end of that matchup, vengeurR, you know, there was at that one point where I think vengeurR landed about 6 rails in a row. Bringing that over, bringing that solid aim that we know that he is definitely capable of, could make a huge difference in this matchup. I'll also be watching for that opening frag. Yes, the last game started off with a little bit of chaos. Will it happen again, or we have a more tempered approach to the opening of game 2?
Well, knowing vengeurR and the fact that it's never over until it's over, I would like to think this is going to be a 1-1 situation, but with the battle of the two lights, and you normally talk about one champion having vastly more mobility over the other. Slash, I don't think it gets any faster than her, but at the same time, Anarchy has different utility altogether. He is going to be able to keep up for the most part, I think, and then it just comes down to how useful the injection's going to be, who's hitting better rails, because they're both going to be both really small champions and incredibly fast-paced, so hitting them with rails is not particularly easy. It's so many variables, I think. This is going to be a high-level matchup for sure, one that you certainly don't see every day. Molten Falls, we're loading up, and this warm-up is going to be coming to a close in a few seconds' time. I like watching this matchup, though. It is so uncommon, but when you see it, it's always, I think, a treat for Quake fans out there, let alone the two players behind the wheel.
And as we get started here, one final comment. You know, we've seen Base actually extend himself a little bit in terms of his style on this. Like, yes, if he has the lead and he gets near the end, he's going to play more defensively. But we've also seen him kind of stretch to be a bit more aggressive on Molten. So I'm curious to see if we'll see any of that here in this matchup versus vengeurR. And we are officially off, looking through the eyes of vengeurR. These first two players looking for that opening frag, both of them with the rail, both of them firing. vengeurR does get hit, and now he will just back off into the hallway here.
I mean, if you look at the map start, though, the Battle of the Lights and how rail heavy this could be.
Yeah.
Whoever spawns near heavy and rail already has a pretty decent start, I think. And Base showcasing that right now.
It's very true. vengeurR slips in and grabs himself that mega, and now heavy is up. He finds Base going for it. Base is able to grab it up the jump pad. Rail is hit. Can he follow up with another one? Yes, he can.
Aggressive.
And a third, and that is exactly what we were talking about. And the fourth, this is a real scary vengeurR.
Very much so, and getting the rail fresh off spawn creates a horrendous position for Base right now. The question is, where do you go? Looking to jump down, able to sneak his way out of there, as vengeurR is going to essentially say, okay, you're running away, let me just jump in and take this. Heavy does go into the hand of Base, though. vengeurR a second too late. I know he's trying to cement, and he gets the rail anyway. All right, looking like vengeur's rail's pretty good, DJ Wheat. I think this is a good start for him, absolutely.
I think vengeurR will be completely happy, too, if he can cleanly get that mega and always fight here for the heavy. Once again, they go at it. vengeurR down to 7 points of health, but the LG battle declares vengeurR the winner on that one. He's going to go for the double 25, and the inject comes out. And, he does a ring around the rosy, but vengeurR reads it easy peasy and lands the rocket for the 4th frag. And once again, over at the heavy, Base picks up the heavy, and vengeurR almost completely negates it right away. On that one, Base ran away, flashing all red. His life was flashing before his very eyes. Didn't get the frag, but vengeurR is up 4-0 and what I would call a incredibly strong opening here on Molt.
Surprise! Base is gonna get turned into absolute pate right there. That's a 5th frag. This is the difference, right? You saw that missed rail. So many champions, you try and spring those traps, get those rails. Slash is so fast that the time it takes you to react and even just left click, she's already gone. That shot has been missed, and here comes all the bonus damage. Now vengeurR, oh, the rail's gonna miss! Oh, and Base doesn't survive the encounter either. This has been such a crazy fast back and forth, but it's what these champions do. That's why I said this is a great matchup to watch. Now Base does land a rail. It's gonna slow down vengeurR just a tad. But will vengeurR be able to get towards heavy anyway? That's what I'm wondering. Up top,
yeah,
here he is.
He's going for it once again. Look at how much damage he does. He is baiting him with it so hard. It's like, yeah, grab it. Come on, grab it. And then a rocket and a rail. And he's not really getting anything from that heavy. I mean, Base has actually picked it up 5 times to vengeurR's 1, and all 5 of those times resulted in a frag from vengeurR. So, you know, I think vengeurR is just loving that setup. Now, finally, Base steals away the Mega, allows him to use that LG to get his first frag. vengeurR steals away that heavy, gets the gauntlet, and then follows up with the machine gun 9-1. This game is wild.
vengeurR absolutely channeling his inner Razy with that gauntlet. Getting as much damage as he possibly can given the circumstances. I have got to give Base a shout out for his LG so far. It hasn't been, you look at the percentage in 35. It's kind of like average sounding for this level of Quake, but against a Slash that is moving this fast. I've been watching a couple of these fights from Base's point of view. His LG, given the difficulty of everything, has been phenomenal. Now that's another opening frag here for Base. 2 frags to 9. If he can get his absolute control locked in, there's always a chance for him to bring this one back. Just as fast as vengeurR has been bullying Base, it could go the other way.
It absolutely could, and I really like that last frag from Base. I feel like it was a learn from my mistakes moment, as he expected vengeurR to be there waiting for him to grab that heavy, and he was. Perfectly placed rocket pinned him up against the wall, and there is a rail to put vengeurR in the danger zone. Grabs the light as well as a couple of additional health bubbles, and now 2-9. He's going to make his way into the heavy pretty early, though. Not necessarily there to pick it up, but to try to get another position here. But I think we're going to be setting up for Megan. Actually, vengeurR might just give it away. Look at this long range rail. He attempts to hit it on Base, but it doesn't happen. So Base continue to hold on to control. Let's see if he can turn the tables here against vengeurR and maybe try to bait that heavy into a frag.
The defensive play from vengeurR has already begun to show its head. He can be aggressive when it calls for, but I think the fluidity of his style is what really lets him shine. He's been aggressive as hell for the first 5 minutes, but now he has 7 frags in the lead. He can use this mobility to make it hard for Base to challenge him. And there's, the plasma trail! You gotta be kidding me! I have not seen the plasma trail do that much damage in a very long time.
I mean, he jumped right into it, and unfortunately, it did so much damage. He was certainly not expecting that. vengeurR waits for the follow-up as well, and Base is going to get a little bit of damage as vengeurR grabs that heavy, but vengeurR answers right back, looking for another follow-up, and there it is. 2-11, halfway through this game, and vengeurR definitely wants to live up to his name here and score himself this second game. We see the inject come out. That's going to be a notice for vengeurR to go ahead and disengage over on top of the heavy. A little early. Is it too early? Rockets from the top. He's got to get out of there. Trail does go down. Beautiful direct rocket, but he still has to give up the heavy.
This is the element of vengeurR that is so... it has to be difficult to deal with. The rocket placement from this guy is unbelievable. You want to chase it down. He somehow finds a way to get defensive rockets that do way more damage than they have any right doing. And what do? You can't challenge him, you can't push him. Now, those rockets are a major part of why he's a god at playing out of control. But when he's in control and when he has a lead, those rockets make it feel like a comeback is near impossible to make. Has 2-11. What a difference in the frags for this map. You can never count them out. It's why they have such a legendary rivalry in Pro League, because of just how back and forth they tend to go. Now in vengeurR's position, look at how quickly he's just cycling around this map. Beautiful movement.
Oh, and he doubles back, lands the rocket. I don't know if it's going to turn into a frag. Actually, Base going to go ahead and chase. And vengeurR just puts himself behind the doorway and lands a pretty safe rocket, 12-2. And yeah, that speed is something else. Went out and saw Fast and the Furious and is now trying to recreate it in game. I don't know, but he is certainly putting on a show for us here today, Catch Up. And you can see Base trying to land those long distance rails to open up opportunities. He has hit a few, but unfortunately they haven't net frags, and Base is going to get a nice follow-up LG there to make it 3-12, but I think this is firmly in vengeur's wallet.
vengeurR plays his cards right. This should be nice and secure. He's going to show it the absolute respect it needs to be, as he is still against Base. Base able to absolutely juggle aim with the best of them, as we've clearly seen week after week. So if there's even a shred of a comeback, we have to always remember that this is light versus light. vengeurR gets caught on a bad spawn, you kind of blink, another frag has gone down. But as we said, vengeur's just going to play the game of information right now. Listen out for where Base might be. If he's trying to make chase, we'll just back out and avoid that situation altogether. A nice demonstration of how viable Slash can still be on the right map. It can go horrendously wrong, but in situations like this, can't chase. Plasma trail, not just area denial, not just damage, but massive speed boost.
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating for Base too, right? Like he knows this is exactly what I need to chase, and I can't. And there's the frag to make it 4-13, and oh, he gets the frag, but off the map. Still 4-13. Sync error now on the board, and with about a minute left to go, we are going to be going to a third map. And I love Catch Up that this is going to be a decider map. Both players showing their own levels of dominance. Of course, Base on Veil, and now vengeurR on Molten, but will set the sights to Exile in what should be just as explosive of a game as we've seen in the last two.
I'm just gonna sit here in awe of the masterclass of Slash movement for about 40 more seconds. It's one of the biggest things I missed about Tox not being in Pro League, is that the usage of Slash went right down. But at the same time, my God, what a champion. In the right hands and on the right map, she can still be this absolute roller queen. Oy, that's going to be a last minute frag here for Base. But yeah, I like this turnaround from vengeurR. We're getting so much information though. What champions are people still kind of working on in the back pocket? You think you've seen a set of champions, you've seen it all, and then bam, out of nowhere, we see another Slash coming out to play. And we could see Slash a little bit more at the finals for all we know. Who knows? Dramis coming back. Dramis known for the crouch sliders as well. Never say never.
Never say never. That's right. 5-13, the final score there, and we're tied 1-1 as we go into the third and final map of this game. That is going to be on Exile, but what a display that was from vengeurR. His rail was on point. His speed was unmatched. The way that he baited Base with that heavy so many times in a row in the early moments. Always understand the need and want for one of those major items, but it just played perfectly into what vengeurR was hoping to pull off. And then rails like those allowed him to just pull further and further ahead. Some great rockets as well. And here's another one of those instances where you grab that heavy and then it is just instantly deleted, didn't exist. And that one goes to vengeurR.
Being able to land the rockets the way he did against an air control champion, especially the likes of Anarchy, is even more impressive. Because some of those frags were, yeah, they were almost predetermined because you get the knock-up. Yo, speaking of knock-up, out. But you see a lot of these frags with rockets, and even though it is Anarchy, it's still kind of another day in the office for vengeurR. And then you look at that frag, I think it was kind of the third or fourth that he got near Mega, where that was purely prediction against an Anarchy who could be anywhere. I tried so hard to hide that sneeze, and out of nowhere, it snuck up on me. Kinda like vengeur's rockets sneaking up on Base as often as they did. 13-5, one-sided affair. But all three of us actually, we were asking some questions about this Exile pick. You are not used to seeing, in Duel at least, Doomslayer get picked that much on Exile. Why does Doomslayer get picked? The double jump is really good for being able to maintain heights or whatever it is. Exile is not the kind of map for that. So I think I'm in a very selfish way. Production won't, they'll follow whoever's winning, I'm sure, but I'm going to spend a lot of this map looking at vengeur's point of view, because I kind of want to see if there's any tricks up his sleeve. Has he got any kind of weird Doomslayer jumps that we don't see all that often? You know, what is the reasoning behind this Doom pick?
I mean, we know of like a few where it's like, yeah, I can get here a little bit quicker, but is it enough to say make a drastic difference on this game? I mean, I would argue that probably the turret might make more of a difference in terms of being able to kind of hide it away to control various major items. But I don't know. This is a question I think you posed. It's a good question. What is vengeur's plan here? Now, he could just say, I just need that little bit of mobility. It will let me dodge a little bit better, but I'll rely on my aim. I'll rely on my strategic play and my unorthodox kind of plays to try to, do the same thing that he did in map number 2. But Base is kind of who I'm really interested in seeing too, in terms of like, how do you bring this one back and what's his plan with the Ison versus the Doom?
We are about to find out, folks, as the decider. Oh, it's so fitting, between vengeurR and Base is about to take place here. Exile, the one and only time we've seen it today, but the finale of the night. As two legends of Quake champions, the rivalry that just seems eternal. No pun intended, because it's Doomslayer. Exile will be our final pick. Here we go. Base and vengeurR. Let me know who you're thinking of in chat. We'd love to know who you're backing.
Someone said this vengeurR just wants to punch things, which might be possible. I mean, it might happen, but we'll have to wait and see. And we're looking through the eyes of vengeurR, who grabbed that rail first, and now up against his opponent. LG versus LG. It's coming out. Turret goes down. Turret's not going to be doing too much, though, as Timmy is sent back home, and vengeurR is on the map with a very, very quick first frag and a nice follow-up rail to potentially look at a conversion here.
I think Base knows that there's no realistic way. Oh, that was a lovely rocket. I say there's no realistic way he can challenge the heavy, but he can get Mega, and that's exactly what he's going to do, combined with a beautiful little prediction rocket that hit absolutely direct. Now caught on the backside by that rail as he goes through. What's vengeurR going to do about this? The rail game's been good so far. He actually has not picked up a rocket launcher at all yet.
It's you're already kind of seeing like what vengeurR is trying to do. He is right, a runner who's trying to just shave off those 0.1 seconds here and there, and I think that's kind of what he's ultimately doing with that mobility, just giving him a little bit more. I don't know if that's going to throw Base off. We'll have to see, but you can start to see it in what vengeurR is doing, just these small areas where he's shaving time off to allow him to get to point A to point B a little bit quicker. But things have slowed down after that first frag. vengeurR's going to be heading back over, grabbing the rail once again and the light as well. But major items coming up here. We've got Mega in just a few moments, and Base is waiting there for him. Lands some nice LG to start things off. Return fire on rockets from vengeurR, but he has to disengage, and there's still a lot of time. I mean, these two major items are clearly separated by a ton of time.
Creativity over the item pickups, I think, is also becoming quite apparent. There's a lot of instances here where you can kind of drop down and take items, but it's a bit obvious where you have to go. Being able to drop down anywhere you want and then just use that double jump to pick up that light armor near Mega, for example. I kind of feel like it doesn't sound like much, but at this level of play, any other element of unpredictability is going to help vengeur's otherwise slippery style. So I'm liking what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's landed a couple of nice rail shots using the double jump, and obviously just kind of for positioning as well. Fight here over the heavy, and Base is going to, he's going to actually get ejected out of the room. vengeurR goes to that teleporter, but isn't going to commit to the heavy, and that means Mega will be up next. And Base, I think, is actually in a pretty good spot right now. If he can somehow figure out a way to make it into this room. Rockets flying out, rail is up, the rail lands as he jumps across. Base grabs that Mega, but not without taking a fresh wound.
Definitely heard the teleport there, but at the same time doesn't want to challenge. There's a big push though from Base, but the instant 180 flick rocket, just shy of 100 damage. vengeurR with those reactions. Never doubt the young man reactions on this lad. Big push in with the rocket though. Base goes down. We talk about vengeur's rockets, and that's exactly why. I don't know how he finds them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he took out into the turret and was like, I'm so confident that I'm going to be able to chase this frag and 2 very, very nice rockets. So that's going to be his second frag of the game. 3 minutes in. Whoa, huge direct coming out. And he's going to follow up with the LG through the teleporter. Rocket jump up to the top. LG back out again. And that was a beautiful, beautiful frag. Read very nicely by vengeurR as he puts his third one on the board.
Such a fast and aggressive rocket jump. You can almost hear E1, M1 just playing in the background in your head. But I mean, he's got such a stack advantage, and these kind of plays, the unhinged movement is what Doomslayer is absolutely built around. And even without that, vengeurR, just the second he can be as creative as he wants and there's just no execution really holding him back for where he wants to be, you can just see it's almost like a dance. Pushing forward with extra damage, super shotgun. I mean, just give us the Daisy medal just because, you know.
Oh, oh my gosh. Oh, wow. I mean, everything about that last fight into that double rail conversion was just beautiful. I do think base is probably a little bit early to that heavy. vengeurR had no problem dancing around that column. He took out Timmy the turret and then easily was able to just, you know, avoid damage and dish out what he needed to. But the 2 rails off of the spawn were, you know, this super juicy aspect of that one. There's a rocket jump up to the top, kind of misses, doesn't really follow through with that. Some LG damage, misses that rail, and this might be the first time that base has actually done some significant damage down to vengeurR in the danger zone. Grabs the mega, but has to back off, still 5-0.
Now, with the battle of mediums on a map like this, the one thing Doomslayer is going to do is give vengeurR significantly more mobility. Ison's all about the turret and everything else, but if he has to chase you, he's not so good at being able to do that. Speaking of chase, what does base do now? Does he set up for a rail angle down below? He doesn't want to push too far ahead. He knows that the jump pad would have been too great of a risk, but hang on. Any amount of damage will do it here. vengeurR, can he worm his way out? Nope, he gets stuck.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit of a fumble there, but that's okay. He's got some room to work with. Base, well, vengeurR was very low and was shooting, I think, like 9, 10, almost 10 rockets out. None of them hit, and then decided to cross the bridge, only to find out that base had the exact same idea. So he caught himself in a position where he was not going to be able to easily get out. He tried, but it did not work, and base was able to sort of take some control away. No conversions have happened here, but we'll see as Mega, it spawns, rail comes out. vengeurR's going to decide to chase with that LG, but base very patiently uses the MG to dispatch his opponent, and now 2 up.
Now this next item's going to be rather... Base takes so much LG damage. vengeurR is going to use this downtime to get some equipment, absolutely. Take away the light, get the rail on deck. That rail's always been one of his more prominent weapons with this kind of style of play. You know, opens up the most creative of angles, and that's a big part of double jump as well. But base, the armor was soaked up from vengeurR. It's really only the scraps left, and maybe, dare I say, a rather predictable one. You can see vengeurR, well, you can't, because we're checking things out from base, but he's looking at the light armor. He's really wanted to see if base takes it. But obviously he won't, and now we can collect instead.
Yeah, base also gave away his position there with those rockets, and vengeurR's actually going to move in on it. Base has to get out of there, and that means that, well, he's kind of finds himself with no armor. In fact, that means that vengeurR's going to chase down. Turret comes out to try to distract him from doing just that. Trying to land these rails to open up an opportunity to just move in there and get a little bit more aggressive. Big machine gun damage coming out there. And with Mega picked up, Heavy is up, but that will go to vengeurR.
More of the patience being set up. vengeurR sees base going down towards light armor. There's really only one way base can go there safely, and that's going to allow him to get hit by a free rail. As we have 2.5 minutes left of this map. Remember, folks, this is the decider between base and vengeurR absolutely well on track to secure yet another victory.
Yeah, he is. I mean, base has to turn it up a little bit here, and you know, turret really hasn't been a huge help. Like, you know, vengeurR has had no problems dealing with it, but we have base now playing the mid long range game, looking for a rail shot. Unfortunately, he's not going to find it, but has himself the heavy, sets him up for a good engagement here. Does get some LG damage, takes some rocket damage. Ooh, hit on the side. Oh my god, that flick rail, and both players incredibly low. Base is going to disengage, grab some more rail and this light so he can go back in it, try to find his opponent. There it is, rail with the thunder. Takes him down 3-5. 2 frags left to go here for base.
He has all the pieces in play to make it happen. vengeurR has only just spawned, so the rocket launcher is as good as it's going to get. He's doing so much damage, but he's taking a bunch as well. Base secures another one, and he's 1 frag away from tying us up. It would be fitting if we have sudden death. Now, bonus, vengeurR actually did manage to pick up a railgun down there, LG as well, because there was one right next to it. Obviously, one of the players going down, getting frags with a rail in hand will drop it, which does open up potential windows here for vengeurR. He can bully and just deny, and the rail lets him land a shot.
Beautifully done. vengeurR very, very low. He's going to try to go for the heavy, and it might have been a mistake that will take him down. It is now 5-5, but there's still 50 seconds left to go. It is not quite overtime yet, and base has some clear control now. He's gotten the last 2 major items.
The bait!
vengeurR going in to grab that LG, gets some damage from the LG off on his own, drops that turret down as the chase comes, and vengeurR goes for it and gets the 6th frag to take the 1 frag lead.
Base was thoroughly expecting vengeurR to come back and take that LG. His read was on point, but I don't think a part of the plan was taking a bajillion nail gun damage, because that's exactly what happened as he pushed forward. By the time you want to escape, it's too late. Doomslayer will make the necessary chase, and with 10 seconds on the clock and the base only just spawning, the weapons are split. He has to make something happen, but I just don't know if he's got time, Wheat.
I don't think
he found him!
Oh, but vengeurR takes a turn around the edge. Unfortunately, he gets the better of those shots, and 4 points of health is what base was down to. vengeurR kind of got surprised there at the very end, but the surprise is on base because vengeurR pulls it out there at the very end. Just such an interesting series on both sides. Let's bring Flea back. I'm sure he has a lot to say here as vengeurR takes the series 2-1. We were right in our predictions, but Flea, what'd you think of the matchup?
That was a beautiful matchup, one of the best of the day, and I just love the kind of sense of symmetry that we got throughout this series, right? So we first start on Vale. Base comes out swinging, absolute burst of aggression, 4-5 frags in what, 2 minutes? Completely unexpected when you consider the way that Base usually approaches these games. And then vengeurR, yeah, he did start to mount a bit of a comeback, but by the end, Base, doing his very reactive playstyle, just held his opponent at base rather, and really just walked away with that scoreline. Then map 2, the complete opposite. It is vengeurR who now flies out of the gates with the slash, and before you know it, he's what, 6-8 frags up? Beautiful stuff, hyper aggression by the Italian. And then finally, map 3, Exile just really ties it up nicely, right? Goes into the final minute, 5-5, all tied up. Super tense game. vengeurR almost getting knocked into the pit at the very end there. And indeed, base, his read was on point with the heavy nail gun damage, and then he kind of just got hurt so badly in the back with that LG, right? I think he figured, like, I'm going to go through a teleporter. There's no way that vengeurR is going to just blindly chase me. Nope, that's exactly what the Maestro man did. Good amount of LG to the back, and that tied it all back up for vengeurR. So really solid series. Definitely one of the most enjoyable ones that I've seen today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you couldn't have put it any better. That final frag, too, the one that kind of allowed vengeurR to push forward, it was around the point where he only had the nail gun, and we can see, you know, through the X-ray, really, that Base is sitting there and waiting for him to inevitably go and take the LG, because, you know, you kind of need one. He had the perfect decision, and then just out of nowhere, that nail gun damage just shredded, absolutely shredded anything. And then, yeah, by the time he's running away, he's taken so much damage anyway that just had to be. And there's probably people out there thinking, what was he doing there? But I just don't think you can factor in taking that much nail gun damage of every weapon when it's all he's got. That, for me, is one hell of a vengeurR factor. I'm looking forward to chatting to him about that final map. But you could see the relief in his face. Now, vengeurR is such, and has been for years, really, an incredible up-and-comer, because every match means so much to him. And with how close this was, you know vengeurR is trying to continue that streak.
I mean, I probably think he had a bit of a heart attack at the end right there when the rocket sent him flying over the pit, and then he just somehow manages to run down those final few seconds. He stopped and he held his head, just, oh my god, what did I just get away with? the sense of relief, it was palpable.
There was like
Yes.
we all saw it through Base's point of view as well, but there was a little bit of like rocket splash as well. Like I don't know if he needed to rocket jump to not fall to his death, and like who knows? Well, I say who knows.
Yeah.
vengeurR knows, and I have heard that he's going to be here in a sec. So as soon as we're ready to cut over to him, yeah, we're ready to talk to vengeurR. I feel like vengeurR, you're also like Rafa, becoming a bit of a mainstay here at the end of these shows. I guess
Congrats.
I'll ask a bit of a bonus question. How are you feeling after that?
I'm not 19 anymore. I think I think I grew up a few years in a second. So, I don't know. I felt like I was gonna fall into the void, and I was, oh my god. So I'm really happy about that.
Excellent. Well, from all three of us, congratulations.
Thank you.
That was, it always tends to be when you're here, but it's a phenomenal showing, and it's one of the absolute best matches of the day, especially that final map. We will have a question each to go through with you, but I guess I'll ask first. Exile. So we didn't see it much today. It was, in fact, the only time we saw it get picked today. At this level of Pro League, like Doomslayer is not a champion that we see a lot on Exile of all maps. Now, there's obviously a lot that players can go with, like different pieces of utility, but I kind of want to just ask you directly, what was the reasoning behind the pick? Like, what kind of tools were you after?
I think it's really good, especially against base, because you can cut the middle part of the map, so you kind of can like speed up a bit your gameplay if you want to. Instead of other champions that have like to rocket jump or do other stuff, you can easily like just double jump. And I also use it to not fall down, because I can double jump also if I am in like panic mode. So it was good for that.
Kind of like the end of the map, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if it actually saved me. I'm not sure. I need to rewatch the boss, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, vengeurR, congratulations. I just have a bit more of a general question. You are now still #1 EU, if I'm not mistaken, undefeated, the only player now still undefeated in Europe. How do you feel about those final few weeks that you're heading into? Because you still have to play Avec, Razy, and Cooler. Do you think you can continue this streak and finish undefeated, or what do you feel like your shape is like at this point?
Well, they're gonna be really tough matches, because usually I don't really have that great history against all of them. It's not always in my favor, so it's gonna be really hard to keep like winning like this. But I'm happy, like especially in Europe, it's every week is like a final, and it really drains you so much. Being able to win, especially against base, because base was also undefeated today, so that was really like a good test for me to see where I am at the moment before QuakeCon. Yeah, like every map was close at the end, so it kind of shows you how good he is as well. So.
All right.
Congratulations, vengeurR. I want to kind of talk about that first map where Base sort of came out, as in Flea's words, he came out swinging. And I know that you just said it there. You respect Base. He was undefeated. You are not going to take this match lightly. But with such a sort of impressive start by Base there in game one, how are you thinking game 2 and 3? Like, what were you going to change, or what did you feel like you needed to focus more on in order to make sure that Base wasn't going to let, or you weren't going to let Base do that again?
Well, in order to win, you have to win 2 maps. So even if I lost one, it doesn't mean like I'm gonna lose my focus or I'm gonna tilt. At the end, like he played better than me on Vale, and he deserved to win. But it's not like I just keep thinking about that map all the time. I just play the next map, and if it goes better, that's good for me. Like if I lose, it doesn't really matter as long as I try. Because if you don't try, it's pointless to even play. So even if I was losing, I don't know how much, 10-0 in Vale, I was still trying to come back at least if I could. Because as you saw with Rafa, it's always possible somehow. So yeah, you need to always try till the end, always. Otherwise, it's pointless to play.
Well said.
Awesome.
Well said,
Yep.
Well said. So again, I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone that watched today. Thank you so much for your performance. It was a great time. Best of luck with your future matches.
Thank you. See you.
Well played.
Take care. Well, folks, I'm sorry to say it and be the bearer of bad news, but that's all we have time for. Before I wrap us up, Flea, DJ Wee, any words?
I mean, it's been an incredible day of Quake once more. It feels like catch-up whenever you and I are on. We get some of the best matches. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get to the Avec game today, but there's more than enough games that made up for it, right? Cygip versus Nosfa, so close. Cooler versus Kilson, and then now, of course, this final one. And who can forget Rafa versus Chain, those first 2 maps. Absolutely incredible stuff. I had a blast, and I can't wait for what nice next for the Quake Pro.
Echo exactly what Flea said. I mean, you know, Rafa and Chain got to come in and they stepped up as the featured match, and they stepped up in the games that they delivered too. And love the final game. You know, base obviously falling down, but it's exciting to see vengeurR be at the top, undefeated. And even more excited to see how those next few matches for him are going to go. So all very, very exciting. I want to thank everyone for being here. And also, I've heard that Kilson is going to be having an operation soon, so I just want to wish him the best of luck, speedy recovery. We want the cyborg back. So good luck with all that, Kilson. And thanks for everyone that is supporting him in doing that. So
well said. We're going to be wrapping things up right now, and hopefully everyone enjoyed the show. If you liked what you saw, get involved in Quake social media, Quake Champions on Twitter, all the information you need about Challenger League, the game itself, upcoming Pro League. The schedule goes out a few days actually before we go live. And the show, same time, same place next week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you, Flea and Wheat, for joining me. It's always a pleasure to be doing this. Quake is such a fantastic game, free to play. Jump in and get involved. We'd love to see you in the arena. Thank you to id and Bethesda, and also the hardworking production teams for making all of this possible. Often a thankless task, but we thank you very much for your efforts. Much love. My name is Ketchup, joined by Flea, DJ Wheat. This is our latest week of Quake Pro League. Peace out and take care. Good night.